Hello and welcome to another episode of Mad Scientist Brewing Beer Education Series. This video discusses beer dinners, which can be a great way to explore new styles of beer and food and discover some terrific combinations that you may not have known about before. In previous videos, we looked at some considerations for pairing beer and food, namely to match the intensity of the beer and the food, to look for complementary flavors to bridge between the beer and the food, and also for contrasting and cutting flavors that add some complexity to the pairing. When planning a beer dinner, all that must be considered not just for a single beer and food, but also in regards to how all the pairings being served will work together. Beer dinners are typically 4 to 6 courses and flow in a similar way to how set course dinners are. You'll start with an appetizer or a small plate, or maybe even what's called amuse-bouche, which is just a small taste of something to set the tone for the experience. This may be followed with a light course like soup or salad, possibly a cheese course, then a main course and a dessert. Generally, the intensity of the dishes increases as the meal progresses, so that the preceding course is not overwhelmed by the one before it. You wouldn't want to serve a salad after roast duck with sour cherry sauce because it would be completely underwhelmed. The order of the beers to be served also has this flow of low to high intensity. Beers start with something lighter in color and with more focus on the malt before moving up to a more complex malty beer or a beer with some light acidity or spicing. Bitter beers generally should be served later as they overwhelm lighter dishes and beers, and should only be followed with high ABV beers or those with significant roast flavor. In planning a beer dinner, one would want to work with the chef to get information about the food being prepared. It is easier to start with the beer in mind and adjust the food to be a better match than to find the perfect beer to go with a predetermined dish. In either case, there needs to be consideration to match the intensities of the beer and the food so one doesn't overwhelm the other, and to ensure that there are several flavor affinities or bridges to tie them together. This usually involves several tastings and trial and error to find the ideal match. At the dinner, diners are often given a welcome beer to sip and enjoy before the meal while they talk with other guests. The ones who plan the dinner will have an opportunity to introduce the dinner. Often there will be some sort of a theme to the beer dinner, such as seasonal food and beer, regional beers, or focus on local ingredients. Having a theme helps to tie everything together rather than just serving distinct beer and food pairings. As diners are served, the host will speak to the pairing, but overall leave it to the guests to enjoy. Planning a beer dinner is a lot of work and requires training and tasting both beer and food. Hopefully you'll be more likely to be invited to such a dinner rather than try to plan one. If you find one planned in your area, consider trying it to explore the many creative ways that brewers and chefs can combine flavors for the perfect pairing. That's all I have to say on beer dinners, so until next time, cheers.